The big news from today comes from London, where Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky drew a firm red line, one that could shape the next phase of the war. Standing alongside the leaders of the UK, France, and Germany, Zelensky declared that Ukraine will not hand over any territory, not to Russia, not under pressure from the United States, and not as a part of Donald Trump's proposed peace plan. Let's break down what happened, why Europe is reacting sharply, and what this moment means for the future of the Russia-Ukraine war. After a series of tense diplomatic exchanges in Washington, Zelensky arrived in London with a clear message. When asked about Trump's plan, which reportedly includes ceding some Ukrainian land to Russia, he didn't hedge, he didn't soften, and didn't leave room for any interpretation. He said, under our laws, under international law, and under moral law, we have no right to give anything away. For Zelensky, the issue isn't just political. He sees territory as tied directly to sovereignty, justice, and the rights of Ukrainians who are living under Russian occupation. Giving up land, in his view, would legitimize the very aggression the world condemned in 2022. Zelensky also hinted at unease with the diplomacy playing out between Washington and Moscow, noting that his own team had just returned from the talks with the US official. What they heard there and what Americans discussed with Russian representatives was clearly serious enough to call for this emergency meeting in London. What happened next is even more consequential. The leaders of Britain, France, and Germany lined up behind Zelensky with unusually direct statements. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was first. He said Britain supports Ukraine without any hesitation, and if there is ever a ceasefire, it must be just and lasting. He stressed something that sounds simple but carries enormous weight. Matters about Ukraine are for Ukraine. In other words, no one can force Kiev to sign a deal it doesn't want. Then came France's President Emmanuel Macron, who framed the situation strategically. He urged that Europe and Ukraine actually hold a lot of cards. He listed them out: military support, training programs, sanctions that are biting into the Russian economy, and Ukraine's battlefield resilience. Macron made it clear: peace talks must take place under conditions that benefit Ukraine and not Moscow. Finally, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz added perhaps the most revealing comment. He called this moment decisive, and he openly admitted skepticism towards parts of the documents emerging from the US side. He said, "Nobody should doubt our support for Ukraine. The destiny of this country is the destiny of Europe." This matters because Germany, traditionally cautious, is signaling that it won't endorse a settlement that sacrifices Ukrainian territory just to end the war quickly. So, where is this all pressure coming from? Donald Trump, who has been trying to position himself as the person who can end the war quickly, has floated a plan centered on territorial concessions. In simple terms, it means Ukraine gives up some land, Russia keeps what it occupies, and the conflict stops. European leaders, on the other hand, see two major problems with this approach. First, it rewards the invasion. Second, it undermines Europe's long-term security. Merz's skepticism, Macron's insistence on best conditions, and Starmer's talk of just peace all reveal the same concern. A rushed unilateral US-driven deal could leave Europe exposed and Ukraine permanently weakened. For Kiev, the issue is existential. If Ukraine gives up land now, what stops Russia from coming back for more later? And Zelensky knows that a peace deal signed under pressure is not peace. It's just a pause before the next attack. Zelensky's refusal to surrender territory is rooted in three realities. First, Ukrainian law prohibits giving away territory. Any such move would violate the constitution. Second, international law is on Ukraine's side. The global system does not allow countries to gain territory by force. Accepting Russia's demand would set a dangerous precedent well beyond Europe. Third, morality and public opinion matters. Millions of Ukrainians have fought, suffered, or fled because of the invasion. For them, surrendering territory would feel like betraying their own people, especially those living under the Russian occupation. Zelensky's London remark reflects all three pressures at once. He simply doesn't have the political or moral space to accept Trump's terms. Europe made something crystal clear in London. They will not back a peace deal imposed from outside, not from Russia, not from Washington, and not from Trump. Zelensky emphasized unity across the Atlantic, saying there are issues Ukraine cannot manage without Americans, and others it cannot manage without Europe. The key question now is whether Washington, Brussels, and Kiev can align their positions before negotiation with Russia takes shape again. If they don't, the alliance that has held strong for nearly 3 years may face new fractures. For now, Ukraine stands firm. No surrender, no territorial concessions, no deal that rewards aggression. How this plays out will shape not just the war, but the future of European security itself. Thank you for watching.